In this video, I would like to share with you some really handy Excel tips and tricks. It might be a little awkward to use some of these hotkeys at first, but I promise if you keep using them, it'll become ingrained in your muscle memory, and it will end up saving you hours of time. The first hotkey is AltEnter. It is very helpful if you want to create a new line within the same cell. Let's say I wanted to stack my first and last name. One way you could do it is writing it in two cells, but say you wanted to write it in one cell. This is where the AltEnter hotkey becomes in handy. I'm typing AltEnter. Now I have it stacked in one cell. In the next section, I will show you how you can utilize Shift, Control, and the arrow keys to quickly navigate and select objects in the worksheet. If I told you to select all of this data, how would you go about doing it? I suspect many of you would click in the corner and drag down. It works fine for this set, but imagine a case where you have thousands and thousands of rows. It starts to become problematic dragging down that far. A much better method is to hold down Control and Shift in combination with the arrow keys to quickly select a large section. First, let's try to understand what Control and Shift do respectively before we see how they work in combination. By holding down the Control button, you are able to select multiple parts of a data set. In addition, you can use Control to move to the end of a section. So if I hold down Control and hit the down arrow key, I will move to the bottom of the table. I can move to the top, to the right, to the left, and so on. Now let's see what the Shift button does. So if I select something and hold the Shift button and click another location, it will select everything in between. I can do it diagonally, now let's see what Shift does with the arrow keys. So if I hold Shift and use the arrow key down, it will select one row at a time. Or I can go by columns. With that knowledge, we can now select this table lightning fast. So first click top left, then I'm going to hold Control and Shift down at the same time, and then hit down and left while holding Control and Shift. So you can see how much faster that was. Hopefully you can see the benefit of doing it this way. Next, I would like to show you a quick way to select the entire worksheet, entire rows, or entire columns. If you hover over a column or row label until you see the black arrow and then click, that will select the entire row or column. What we learned about Control and Shift also applies to these selections. So I could use Control or Shift to select everything in between. It is also possible to select the entire worksheet by using the key combination Control A or by clicking this triangle in the top left. Now I will show you a quick way to resize rows and columns quickly. If you hover the mouse between column labels, when the cursor resembles a plus button, and double-click, it will automatically resize the column so that it fits the data in the cells. So you can see World Championships does not fit inside of this G cell. If I double click here, it will now automatically resize. It is also possible to resize all of the columns at the same time. You can do this by selecting the entire worksheet and then resizing. Please note that you should not use the automatic sizing on Test Your Skills 1.5 because the assignment calls for specific column widths. Now I would like to show you the various functions of the fill handle. The fill handle is a little green box at the bottom right of a cell. When you have selected the fill handle, the plus sign turns from arrows into a thicker plus sign. If I select one value and use the fill handle, it will copy that value to whatever cells I drag it to. If I select multiple numerical values, Excel is smart enough to realize the pattern and will fill in the appropriate values. You can see it's counted. A faster way to use the fill handle is to simply double-click on the fill handle, and Excel will automatically stop at the appropriate place. Fill handle also works for copying formulas. Next, I will be showing you how to use the F2 key to see the contents of a cell and troubleshoot formulas. There will be many times when you are working with a complicated formula and need to fix an error. I find it very helpful to use the F key button to help you troubleshoot. If you select a cell and hit the F2 button, it will open up the formula and color code other cells that are involved. The next section is a really cool hotkey I use all the time. It is Alt equals to auto sum. You can see in this part I need to calculate a grand total. Rather than typing sum and selecting the cells, I can simply select the cell, hold down Alt, and then hit equals, and it will automatically sum all of the cells above. For the next two sections, I assume that you understand how absolute and relative cell references work. If you do not, you should go to chapter 2.1 to read about it. The F4 key can be used to toggle between the different types of cell references. I have created this simple example to show you how you might use the F4 key. So, I want to multiply this tax rate by my income. So I'll select income multiplied by tax rate. If I copy this down as it is, I will get an error because if we had our F2 key to troubleshoot, you can see it's multiplying 400 by income. We need to fix this cell so it stays on tax. We can make it absolute. So if you select the cell reference, then hit the F4 button, you'll see that it adds dollar signs, making it absolute. This is much faster than typing it in manually. If you continue to hit the F4 key, it will switch between the different types. If the dollar sign is in front of the B, then that means the column has been locked. If it's in front of the 1, that means the row has been locked. If it's in front of both, it's absolute. If it's in front of neither, then it's relative. So let's make sure tax is absolute. And then let's use the fill handle to copy it down. If we have F2, we can now see that it's multiplying the correct values. In the next part, I'll be showing you a few cool things you can do with Paste Special. Now imagine we would like to copy these tax values over here. If I copy and paste it normally, I'll get some errors because of the cell references. A way you can get around that is by using Paste Special. So we can copy and then Paste Special. So you can click this to see a full dialog, or you can use the pictures. So if I want just the values, I could paste values. And now you can see, rather than having a formula, we just have the values. Another cool Paste Special option is the transpose. So let's copy, Paste Special, transpose. So now you can see it's flipped it. It's transposed this table into a different table. While working with Excel, you'll be using many formulas and functions, and there's a few things you can do to make it a little easier. When you're typing a function, it's not necessary to type in the full name. So, for redoing this one, we can just type P, M, T. So before we type T, we can just hit Tab. You can also use the arrow keys to navigate. Once you find the right one, Tab. So you can see this little bar that pops up. It will highlight the current argument. Use this to help you when you're writing a function. You might be confused what a certain argument is, like what is NPER? Well, you can hit this Insert Function button to get formula help. So it'll open up this function arguments box, and you'll be able to read about what each part is. So here we can see NPER is the total number of payments. This will be really helpful on some of the more confusing functions. One last little bonus tip. It's possible to do almost anything in Excel using hotkeys. Let's bold and underline the difference between the 30 and 15 year with hotkeys. First, you could use the arrow keys to select it. Then you could hit the Alt button, and you can see it opens up all these little letters. So bolding is in the Home ribbon, so we hit H, then 1. Bolded. If you want to underline, Alt H 3 U. So that's just a quick example of how you could use hotkeys with that hotkey menu. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you're able to put some of these into practice. And just remember, keep practicing them, and eventually it will save you a lot of time in the long run.